Many adults who slipped through the cracks as kids have gone their entire lives without actually realizing they're autistic. But with the evolution of research and knowledge, we're learning the true spectrum of autism. On this video, I'll walk you through 10 signs of undiagnosed autism in adults. Let's go. Welcome, my stars of Orion. Thank you so much for watching. I'm orionkelly, that autistic guy. I'm all about providing validation and support for autistic people and their loved ones. 10 signs of undiagnosed autism in adults. Sign number 1. Let's talk about social interaction challenges. Okay, so the first sign is pretty much talking about the difficulties, the challenges autistic people have with social interaction. Autism can affect autistic people in the way that we would just know intuitively, just understand, get the rules, get the norms. This is how social interaction works. Obviously, if we don't know the norms, know the rules, know how it works, it makes socializing feel basically impossible. It's like playing a board game without the rules, without the instructions. We may overthink what to say in a conversation. We may analyze every single word simply to avoid saying the wrong thing. But of course, in doing that, we fail to actually process what you're saying and therefore struggle to even respond appropriately. Social gatherings. I hate them. They might leave you feeling completely drained. Even if you enjoy, and I do, even if you enjoy the people you're spending time with in these social gatherings, and that's the case for me, it doesn't change the fact that that situation will still leave you completely drained. It could leave you debilitated of any kind of energy. Social gatherings, massive impact, and that's a key part of socializing. Maybe people call you awkward, weird, odd, eccentric. I think they call you that when you get a bit older, because you don't naturally pick up on social cues as an autistic person. What's an example, Orion? For me? Hey, I don't know how to end conversations. I don't know how to stop talking about something, and I don't know how to hang up the phone. I mean, I do physically, but I don't know how to I never know how to say, you just say goodbye. Yeah, right. Some people may have more personal space challenges. How far away to stand, how close to stand. Should you look them in the eye? Should you do this? Now, you shouldn't, because you're autistic and you should do what's right for you. But neurotypical people would say there's a particular distance you have to stand from someone. You have to look them in the eye, but not too much. There's so many rules, and none of them make sense to autistic people. Number 2, a difficulty with implicit communication. So many autistic adults struggle with implicit or unspoken communication. Things like body language, tone of voice, implied meanings, unwritten rules and conventions that we were never given. Everyone gets the rule book, but autistic people, thanks for nothing, other people. I guess a quick example could be if someone says, hey, let's get coffee sometime, you might take that literally and actually wait for them to schedule it, not realizing it's just like a polite gesture. You know, in other words, they don't really want to get coffee with you. That's why they said, let's get coffee sometime. Sometime never comes. Other examples, sarcasm, jokes, figurative language can confuse autistic people. Figurative language. Oh my goodness. My autistic son will hear someone say something. No. It's raining cats and dogs. No, it's not. It's raining rain. You might wonder why people would say something so utterly absurd. Autistic people, I'm saying. We often hear neurotypical people use figurative language and think, are you an idiot? The next sign is a strong need for structure and routine. Autistic people absolutely rely on routine, structure, sameness. Why? Well, it helps us stay calm. It helps us feel like we're in control. We can control the controllables. It provides us with predictability, with sameness, which helps us stay regulated. Remember, we don't do this to control others. See, controlling the controllables is about, here's a world I live in that's not built for me, that's here to really dysregulate me. What can I do to minimize that? You control the controllables: structure, sameness, routine, plans. What's some practical examples? Maybe you eat the exact same breakfast every morning. This might not be because, you lack a want to have other ones, or you lack creativity, but simply it helps you to start your day without stress. I do that. I have the exact same breakfast cereal, the exact same amount, at pretty much the exact same time every morning. Even though I love cereal, I could eat it all day. I make it very specific. Have you heard about those entrepreneurs too that just wear the same clothes every day? It's like just, because you don't have to waste mental energy on what will I wear. Now on the flip side, if our routine is disrupted, now this could be anything, family, you're at work, again, congratulations, and a coworker reschedules a meeting last minute, what happens? Well, we feel overwhelmed because our plan has been disrupted, and therefore the control we have to stay regulated has been broken. This can lead to us being dysregulated. What happens then? Meltdowns, shutdowns. These are the kind of things that don't help us as autistic people. And it's why we value so highly routine and structure. Next up is number 4, sensory sensitivities or insensitivities. Autistic adults experience the world in a heightened or a hypo, in other words, a dulled way. Okay, it's either heightened or it's hypo, an under experience of the world through our senses. Now, for some autistic people, things like bright lights can feel like they are literally burning lasers through our eyes. For me, weird sounds, buzzing, hums, anything. If it's happening, I want to know what it is, where it is, and how quickly I can not kill, reprimand the thing or person making it. It makes it hard to focus. I can't move on with my life until I've worked out what that sound is and why it won't stop. Now, on the flip side, other autistic people might not actually notice when they should be experiencing something. For example, pain. Or you might see an autistic person on a freezing cold day walking around in, shorts and a singlet or something. Go, aren't you cold? Do you realize you've cut your finger? No. So it's not just this stereotypical, everything is just this massive over experience and reaction. No. Sensory challenges can also affect our coordination. As an autistic person, I am one who is constantly bumping into things. I seem to be the person that's always knocking over cups or breaking things accidentally. Still, when I leave a room, I often shoulder charge the door frame, like, who put that there? It's been there the whole time, Orion. Well, I don't like it. Now, this can be related to how our brain processes spatial awareness. So our awareness through our senses, obviously, can be either hyper or hypo. Either way, we struggle with potentially our spatial awareness due to how we experience our senses and how our senses experience the world around us. On to sign number 5, let's talk about uneven skill sets. This is me. Yep, there's big gaps in my skill sets. How can I excel in some areas, yet struggle to remember what shoe goes on what foot when I'm trying to help my kids get dressed? How can I struggle to know the basic things that really everyone just knows, yet I can do this? These are the things that, in my opinion, can be par for the course for late diagnosed autistic adults. You might be incredible at something. Maybe you're great at complex problems. I mean, solving them, not creating them. You might like coding, might be an artist, a musician. But then, do you have difficulty with other things that people would say, you can't do that? That's such a simple task. What do you mean you don't know how to create some sort of schedule of upcoming appointments? Or you don't know which shoe goes on what foot? Is that a joke? I don't know if there's many more relatable things as a late diagnosed autistic adult. You could be bloody fantastic at your job. You could be bloody fantastic at speaking in public, doing presentations. But you might be completely lost when it comes to small talk. That's an example for me. I can make videos. I can talk to people at conferences and stuff, but I'm talking at them, I guess, or to them. If I had to chat to people prior to doing that, I would be in big trouble. That small talk interaction is so tricky, so stress and anxiety inducing. This unevenness is often a hallmark of being an autistic person. In fact, a study in 2020 of the Journal of Autism and Developmental Disorders actually explained these as spiky skill patterns. Spiky skill patterns. Because autistic people tend to develop exceptional strengths in specific areas while facing genuine challenges in others. And again, it doesn't matter if you have high care needs or low care needs, high support needs, low support needs. As an autistic person, we're all different, but I guarantee we all have our individual challenges and, more importantly, strengths. Sign number 6 is emotional regulation. What does that mean? Well, how we regulate and process our emotions. Let's cut straight to the ending. Autistic people have meltdowns, shutdowns, need alone time, withdraw. Is it withdraw or withdrawal? Either way, what makes you happy? Burnout. Why? Because in trying to process the world around us, we can become dysregulated. Now, before anyone goes, I'm an autistic adult, I don't have meltdowns, what are you talking about? It doesn't have to be what you think it has to be, which presumably is like this young child kicking and screaming. A meltdown could actually look like you just suddenly become emotional. You suddenly start crying or yelling when someone has pushed you past your threshold, past your limits. A shutdown might happen when you simply realize, oh, I've stopped talking to people. See, a shutdown doesn't have to be like the computer's turned off. You could be in a situation, suddenly you stop talking. You're non-responsive. You feel like you've gone to sleep or something. That could be an autistic shutdown. I'm big on that. If I ever pass that regulation limit, I often just shut down verbally and become non-responsive. I'm protecting myself. Withdrawal. It's a more long-term response where you basically avoid the situations that dysregulated you or the people that dysregulated you. And that's to protect yourself. And really that's a manifestation of what becomes autistic burnout. In other words, struggling to understand, process, and regulate our emotions manifests to periods of dysregulation, which the world sees as meltdowns and shutdowns. But it's far more nuanced than that. Number 7 is a big, strong resonate for me. A strong sense of justice and fairness. Okay, so autistic people often have a heightened sense of justice. A strong desire for fairness, for what's right and what's wrong. For that's not fair, you can't treat people like that. Or sticklers for rules, like me. No, that's illegal, or that's not right, or you can't do that. This is how you do it. And what happens? Well, because it's such a strong driver, we speak out. We take action. We call people out. We stop people. We explain to people because it feels wrong to just let it go through to the keeper. The real world doesn't care, by the way. The real world aren't sticklers, apart from, cops and stuff. The real world, they don't care. Autistic people, what do you mean you're not going to tell that person that's the wrong thing to do or that's not fair? What do you mean you're not going to stand up for this perfect stranger no one's met in this family before, but I've decided I have to stand up for because they're not being treated fairly? What do you mean you don't want to do that? Let me give you a few practical examples. Okay, so at work. Let's say you decide you want to advocate for a workmate, a colleague, because you think they've been treated unfairly. Even if it puts you in an uncomfortable or compromising position with the people you're taking it to, you'll still do it. Because if your workmate is being treated unfairly, I'm going to go to the boss and tell him, what do you mean, Orion? There's chains of command. No, there's right and wrong. You also may feel deeply upset by injustices. right? You might struggle to understand why the world around you seems unbothered. They're not in any way bothered by a particular unfair or unjust situation. This is seriously, I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I think, what is wrong with these people? They really don't care that that's unjust or not fair or that's wrong. And they don't. It turns out they don't. Now, there is some research suggests that autistic people tend to place a high value on ethical behavior and integrity, sometimes to the point of being uncompromising. And I think that's right, but I also think that, let's be clear, autistic people can still do unethical things, do things without integrity, and lie, do things that are wrong. We're not angels. We're humans. This is just talking about this intrinsic feeling of how our brain works and how that manifests in our body. Sign number 8, making unusual mental connections. What? Do you like hurdles? Do you like mental jumps? Autistic brains often think in ways that are creative but unexpected. By the way, how good is that? That's a band name. If you're about to start a band, I give you permission to call your band Creative but Unexpected. That would be the best band name ever. Okay, so look, some really basic examples. Really, in fact, they're crude examples. I'm just helping you here. So someone says apple, people are probably going to go, what do you associate apple with? They're probably going to go, apple pie, an apple tree, fruit, whatever. Okay, but you might immediately think of a very specific memory, like that time you had an apple-scented candle that you made in school. What the? Who now? Who makes apple-scented candles in school? Did you? What is wrong with you? Let's move on. So you might hear a joke. You might take it literally. What do you mean literally? Well, you've missed the punchline. You've missed the punchline? Yeah, someone tells a joke. You take it literal on face value, missing the punchline entirely. Because, now why is that, Orion? Because when you hear a joke, the punchline makes sense because you get the joke and the punchline. But hang on, creative, unexpected, you missed the punchline because your autistic brain heard the joke and went into a completely different direction. In other words, where the joke took your autistic mind was nowhere near the same area as the punchline. As a relatively, arguably, borderline okay creative autistic person, I can say, for me, I like having an autistic brain. It feeds my creativity. This can be a strength in creative fields. Being differently creative has helped me. It can also lead to communication challenges though. So if others, neurotypical people, don't understand the connections your autistic brain is making, can I just be honest? They're just going to think you're crazy, mate. And we're not crazy. You just don't understand the connections my brain is making to the things you're saying because your brain is lined up in a neurotypical way of seeing everything. And they call us black and white. The next sign, number 9, is one of the hardest to define. Do you get told by people, geez, you're a different kind of cat, man. There's something that's just not quite right about you. Just a little bit different. Can't put my finger on it. People might say things like, you're quirky, geez, you're a unique, strange, odd, interesting Interesting's the best one. Geez, you're an interesting person. That means a bad thing to you, doesn't it? They can't quite put their finger on why, but they think you're quirky, you're unique, you're interesting. I'm interesting, why? I don't know. Maybe as a late diagnosed autistic adult, maybe you've always felt like that. Maybe you've always felt like, why am I so different? Why do I stand out? Why don't I fit in? Why do I feel like the odd one out even in my own family? At family gatherings, social groups, work. I want to go back to family. It is actually okay and it's normal as an autistic person to feel like you simply don't belong in your own family. Different brains. When you meet other autistic people, you might actually suddenly feel this sense of, oh, I belong here. This is like my tribe. You may have never experienced that before. I've experienced that. Meeting other autistic people, whether it's like in live chats, live streams, comments, publicly at things, it honestly, and not everyone, but it's honestly like, wow, I actually feel like I've met my people, I actually belong here. And I'm valued, and this is really nice. And it's like, I've never had this before. That's a feeling that could help you. This sense of being different, it's hard to define, to quantify, to value. It's something autistic people often talk about through their own experiences. That when you reflect back, certainly as an adult seeking a late autism diagnosis, you could reflect back on your own experiences of where you saw yourself in the world, where's your place in the world, where do you fit in the world, and how do others see that? And that may make it pretty easy to work out you don't actually see your place or where you fit in to this neurotypical world. Sign number 10, let's talk about hyper-focusing on special interests. Okay, autistic adults often have intense focus and passions for very specific things. Hobbies and activities? Huh? Who has time for hobbies and activities? I guess people that hate their lives. Autistic people spend our lives in our passions. Specific, whether it's learning about specific topics or these are our actual passions. Intensely focused. You may hear people refer to them as special interests. That's cool. In other words, things that you are particularly passionate about as an autistic person is all you really care about. Now, these interests actually can bring a real deep sense of joy. They can bring purpose to an autistic person. Why is that? Well, it's something I want to learn about or focus on or brings me joy or helps me regulate myself, helps me feel remotely accepted and happy. That's a pretty big thing. But it can also make it hard in transitions. Autistic people in transitions, shifting attention. I was going to say twitching, and I like that. I think I've invented a new term. Task switching, aka twitching, trademark Orion Kelly. Enterprises doesn't exist. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. So you could spend hours researching a particular topic you're just dead set passionate about. It doesn't have to be anything that people care about. I don't know, ancient history, the stars, the planets, your favorite TV show, your favorite performer or actor. And you will completely lose track of time. That's not going to be great for everything else in your life. If you have a job and you're autistic, holy crap, you are a god. Congratulations. You may excel in a task that aligns with your interest. So in your work, there's a task that aligns with your interest and you kill it. But if you're asked to switch gears, or as I like to say, twitch, I swear I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make this work. Hashtag Twitch equals task switching. What's going to happen is, and if it's something that's completely unrelated to the thing you're passionate about, it's going to feel impossible to you. What do you mean, Orion? So you're doing a task at work that's aligned with your passions and you're killing it. Someone asks you to do a different task that isn't aligned with your passions, and you can't stop what you're doing to do that. That would be impossible. What do you mean? So I've got to stop this task, which you've told me to do, which I'm doing and I'm passionate about, to do this task, which doesn't really float my boat and I don't really know, and I don't know how to stop to move on to that. These are core issues. Why I make so many jokes about autistic people. If you've got a job, well, good luck. You'll be fired tomorrow. It's very hard to maintain employment in a neurotypical world. If these traits resonate with you, remember, autism is a spectrum. And no two autistic people are the same. These signs are just a starting point to your journey. So for more tips on late autism diagnosis, check out my playlist, Autism Diagnosis for Adults.